Hello guys and gals, and this is part 8 of Fantasmagoria, an atlas of fabulous creatures, enchanted beings, and magical monsters. It is a book by Julia Bruce. And let me check my notes real quick to find out where we left off. It has been a few days since I made any videos, so let's get caught, shall we? Okay, looks like in the horse-like creatures, according to my notes, we talked about unicorns, Pegasus, water horses, the Minotaur, and centaurs. Now, granted, the Minotaur isn't horse-like, but it's kind of farmyard-like because it's based off of a cow, which is a domesticated creature. Okay, let's okay, and here we are. We are ready for Satyrs. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I know a little bit about this because of all the Percy Jackson books I've read. Pan played a prominent role in that franchise, and so did Satyrs, always otherwise known as fawns in the Romans. But let's see here. Okay, I hope I don't have to censor any of this out. But anyways, let's see. Okay, it says Satyrs. We're going to look at this. Wild creatures of the woods, satyrs are half man and half goat. In Greek myths, they were servants of Dionysus, god of wine, and like nothing better than a drunken party. Their counterparts in Roman myths, fauns, are similar to look at, but completely different in character. They are gentle, peaceful forest creatures, with a love for music. Okay. Well, let's read this about the god Pan right now. And let me see what this says. Pan plays his syrinx pipes, now commonly known as pan pipes, among the reeds of the bank of a quiet river. Okay. Okay, now let's get to reading. We'll look at Tumnus here from Chronicles of Narnia. Pan was the son of the god Hermes and the nymph Dryope. He looked very much like a satyr with the legs, tail, hooves, and horns of a goat and the body of a man. His role was to guard flocks, sheep, and goats. Although wild and fun-loving, Pan also loved art and music. He would often be heard playing the pipes. One of the famous tales about Pan is the story of how he got his pan pipes. One day he came across Syrinx, a beautiful nymph who was beloved by all the satyrs, though she scorned them all. When she came face to face with Pan, she ran from him, but he chased after her and caught up with her at the bank of a river. She called on the help of her fellow river nymphs. They turned her into a reed and turned into reeds themselves, swaying softly in the breeze. As the wind blew through them, it created a gentle melody. Although he could no longer recognize the object of his desire, Pan took some of the reeds and made them into pipes. He called his instrument a syrinx in honor of her. Okay, and we're going to read the description for this. It's from Mr. Tumnus, the faun, and as he appeared in the first of the Chronicles of Narnia films based on C.S. Lewis's famous books. Yep, I knew it looked familiar. Now, we are going to read this part right here while we look at these nymphs dancing. Again, I hope I don't need to censor that. I don't think I will. But we're going to look down here just to be sure. With their pointed ears, strange animal-like features, horns, muscular bodies, and goat's legs and hooves, satyrs are definitely more animal than human. Although they were bold when it came to dancing, partying, drinking, feasting, and chasing beautiful nymphs, satyrs were also idle and cowardly. They never did any work and would run away at the first sign of trouble. Unlike many mythical creatures, satyrs were mortal, growing old and eventually dying as humans do. Older satyrs were called Sileni. Right there. Sorry. Sileni. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. I'm sorry. And their leader was Silenius, a drunken, grizzled being often seen riding on a donkey. Silenius and the satyrs were companions of Dionysus, joining him in a drunken revel at every opportunity. Satyrs pose no serious threat to humans, but they were known as pranksters and could be rude and obnoxious. In the myth of the Romans, fauns were similar creatures to satyrs. They had the legs and horns of goats, and the torso, head, and feet of a man. They were the guardians of fields and forests. The gentle Mr. Tumnus, who was a character in C.S. Lewis's book about Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, was a faun. Fun-loving satyrs frolicking with nymphs in the haze of the early morning. Satyrs were known for their love of music, revelry, and dancing. Okay, and we are going to move on. Another map, and we're going to talk about dragons. Again, I'm only going to read the text here. If you want, I can actually do a video where we actually take close-ups of the map. I don't know. I don't want to take too much time away from reading to actually focus on the map. But if this is what people actually want, that's what I'll do. Okay, it says here, appearing in legends all over the world, dragons are creatures of great power and magic. Some can fly, their great wings beating against their scaly sides. Others lurk in caves guarding hoards of treasure, ready to emerge and belch forth a plume of fire. The traditional Western image of a dragon is perhaps best shown by the fire-breathing beast famously killed by St. George in Libya, North Africa. But dragons, come in all shapes and sizes. Mayan and Aztec god Quetzalcoatl was a huge feathered flying serpent. Jin in China and Japan, most dragons are bearded creatures that could not fly, and some were very small, while in Europe many dragons were wingless, cave-dwelling worms. In the myth of the ancient Greek, dragons were many-headed monsters with poison running in their veins. So yeah, and we're just going to take a close-up of this, and let's get this party started then. Okay, let's talk about dragon lore. Okay. Oh yeah, we saw this one at the beginning on the entry page. Let me show. I'm probably going to lose the page. Oh. Right here. See, Fantasmagoria, and it has the picture of that dragon from that page. Okay, let me find the page again. Oh, here we go. Dragon lore. The dragon is the largest of all serpents and of all living things on earth. Not even the elephant is safe from the dragon, wrote a dragon observer some 1,500 years ago. In many parts of the world, dragons are the most terrifying of all fantastic beasts, but in other places they are seen as gentle creatures, godlike and wise. Red Dragon of Wales. A fiery red dragon is the national emblem of Wales and relates to a legend about the wizard Merlin. When he was just a boy about 1,500 years ago, King Vortigern of the Britons was trying to build a great fortress in Wales to defend himself against the invading Saxons. But every time his builders laid the foundation, they were mysteriously destroyed. Vortigern consulted his magicians, who said he needed to sacrifice a boy with no father and sprinkle his blood on the ground. They searched the length and breadth of the country for such a boy until they found a lad named Myrddin Emrys, and as we know, that's Merlin. Myrddin Emrys, whose father was said to be a demon, and brought him before Vortigern. When the king's magicians explained what kept happening, Myrddin laughed and told them that beneath the ground there was a vast pool where two battling dragons lived, one red and one white. The fighting of these great beasts was causing the ground to shake and bringing the walls of Vortigern's fortress crashing down. And that's that. So I guess maybe they went underground and killed one of the dragons, or maybe they just gave up building. I don't know. Anyways, well, I guess there's nothing to do with this. It says dragons feature in the creation stories of many cultures, from Central America to Iraq. Sometimes they are kind, but in the Bible, dragons are described as servants of Satan. Okay. Let's see. Now let's read this. Oh, here. It says here, The dragon-like Quetzalcoatl, who was believed by ancient peoples to be of Central America to be the creator of humankind. Okay, there's that. Okay, now let's read about dragon lore. With their huge size, scaly skin, leathery wings, razor-sharp teeth and claws, and the ability to breathe fire, dragons are often regarded as the ultimate monster. In many ancient cultures, dragons were thought to be evil. The Egyptian dragon, Apophis, for example, was the deadly enemy of the sun god Ra. In Central America, a feathered serpent called Quetzalcoatl was a great god, while in India, dragons were giant snakes, sometimes kindly, sometimes not. African dragons have a taste for human sacrifices. The snake-like Beta of Mali ate 10 girls every year until its head was cut off by the hero Mamaldi. In the East, dragons are viewed differently. Chinese, Japanese, and Korean dragons are considered to be godlike and are usually friendly towards people. Dragon bones. No one knows where dragon stories come from, but they might have developed from a fear of snakes. In Australia, for example, tales of the rainbow serpent, a fearsome but respected figure in Aboriginal mythology, may have come from encounters with a gigantic 15-meter-long, 50-foot snake called Wanambi. Naracortensi. This reptilian giant became extinct shortly after humans settled in Australia about 50,000 years ago. Even if people never saw the snake itself, they could have seen its fossilized bones. And moving on. Chinese dragons. Oh, and we saw this guy before too, the Mongolian worm. He was on the introduction page. So if you want to see him again, you'll need to go to the first episode. Chinese dragons. The dragon is the most important of all the legendary creatures of China. Dragons are like gods, having power over weather, fire, and water. They are worshipped as symbols of power and happiness, and thought to bring with them wealth and good luck. Okay, I'm just going to read this small print here. In China, dragons are called Long, and they live for thousands of years. Unlike most Western dragons, they are generally kind towards humans. Their physical characteristics are also distinctive. They have snake-like bodies, 4 legs, and 117 scales covering their bodies. They live for thousands of years, and very old dragons may eventually grow wings. You'll often see Chinese dragons shown carrying a pearl in their mouth, claws, or under their chin. This represents their power. Most Chinese dragons have 4 claws on each foot, apart from imperial dragons, which have 5. According to Chinese legend, the farther a dragon travels away from China, the more claws it loses. That explains why dragons from Korea have 4 claws, while those from Japan have only 3. Another legend describes how Wang Lung, the yellow dragon, gave humans the gift of riding. One day he rose up out of the Yellow River before the Emperor Fu Zi, I think that's pronounced Fu Zi, and showed him characters that were written along his flanks. Now we're going to read here about the Mongolian deathworm. That sounds like fun. Although not exactly a dragon, the deathworm of Mongolia is a terrifying and monstrous snake-like animal. It is a cryptozoological creature, that is, an animal that may or may not be real, that have been sightings of the deathworm. There have been sightings of the deathworm, but its actual existence was not yet been scientifically proven. The worm is supposed to live underground in the vast Gobi Desert of Mongolia, north of China. It grows up to 1.5 meters, 3 feet long, and is smooth, fat, and blood red. The locals name it Algoi. I'm going to have to. Oh, here it is. Algoi Korkoi. Let's go with that. Which means blood-filled intestine worm. Ew, that sounds kind of gross. Local people say it can spit deadly sulfuric acid and kill its prey from a distance with a bolt of electricity. Some zoologists, scientists who study animals, have been so intrigued by the tales of the frightening creature that in 2005 an expedition set out for Mongolia to try and track it down. Unfortunately, no trace of the scarlet worm was found. The mystery remains. Okay, it says above. The death worm's Mongolian name means blood-filled intestine worm. This is an artist's vision of the creature. Okay, let's take a look at this little friendly fella here. A long boy. It says, this is an example of a five-toed imperial dragon. Do you know that the greatest compliment you could pay a Chinese emperor was to call him Dragon Face? Yes, we found that out in another book that I read, Mythical Monsters. Let's see. Huge paper dragons, symbols of luck and prosperity, are often paraded around the streets at Chinese New Year. Yeah, those are amazing, by the way. I remember it from the Olympics. Okay, here are number of dragons. 9 is the magical number of 9 is a magical number in China and features strongly in Chinese dragon myth. Dragons are said to be made up of the following 9 parts. So let's read them. Head of a camel, neck and body of a snake, antlers of a deer, eyes of a rabbit, ears of a bull, belly of a clam, scales of a fish, claws of an eagle, and paws of a tiger. Now, let's read about Year of the Dragon. Not to be confused with Spyro Year of the Dragon, which is a great game. And they remastered it, and it came out pretty good. In Chinese astrology, each year each year has its own particular zodiac animal. There are 12 in all: rat, monkey, horse, tiger, snake, ox, horse, sheep, rooster, dog, pig, and dragon. The dragon being the only mythical creature. Because the Chinese New Year starts at the end of January or the beginning of February, the zodiac years span 2 calendar years. Dragon years in the last half century have been 1964 to 65, 1976 to 77, 1988 to 89, and 2000 to 2001. The next year of the dragon will be 2012 to 2013. This is a little bit out of date, sorry. Anyone born in the year of the dragon is said to be lively, strong, and attractive, but these people can also be ruthless, stopping at nothing to get what they want. They did say 1977, so hey, year of the dragon, that's me. Okay, let's read about Japanese dragons now. Wow. Japan is a beautiful country with many tall mountains, deep lakes, and dark forests. It's easy to believe that mythical creatures such as dragons might dwell in some of the most remote and mysterious parts of the countryside. Many mountains, rivers, and lakes in Japan are named after the dragons that just might once have lived there. Okay. Let's look at the fantastical facts first here. It says, legend blames Japan's numerous violent earthquakes and the fiercest of its storms on epic battles between the dragons and its arch enemy, the tiger. Okay, and it says right here, although Japanese dragons may look fearsome, they are usually benevolent and wise, putting their great powers over wind, weather, and water to good use. Okay, it's kind of hard for me to read the italicized print. Sorry about that. Okay, now let's read about dragon's eggs. That way we can, get more off this page. First of all, though, I'm going to need to pause so I can change my position here. I've been sitting Indian style for quite some time, and my foot is going to sleep. There we go. That's way better. Now let's read about dragon eggs. Yeah, well, we look at this picture here. Okay, it says here, the eggs of Japanese dragons were thought to start life at the bottom of the ocean, where they would lie for 1,000 years. Then they would then rest in the mountains for a further 1,000 years, and finally for another 1,000 years in a human village. At this stage, they would look like beautiful, bright-colored stones, each with a tiny snake asleep within. Attracted by the beautiful colors, people would pick up the stone and keep them in their houses. But anyone tempted to keep such a stone should beware. At the end of the 3,000 years, the stone would split, and the tiny snake would emerge. It would then grow alarmingly quickly, and within just a few seconds smash its way through the roof amid a great storm of thunder and lightning, until it took on the form of a huge and magnificent dragon. And let's see, the caption for this picture says, Japanese dragon's egg spends 1,000 years at the bottom of the ocean after they are first laid. Okay, now let's read about dragons. It says, Japanese dragons are similar in appearance to the dragons of China. They are called tatsu or ryu and have long, scaly bodies, 4 legs, whiskers, and 3 claws on their toes. But unlike Chinese dragons, they have a row of spines down their back. These magical creatures control water, including rivers, and have power over the weather. They are thought to live in lakes, rivers, and springs, and are associated with the Japanese emperor. There are 4 Japanese dragon kings. I'm going to say it's Suryu. Suryu is the rain dragon who brings rain to the island of Japan. Hanryu, Hanryu is striped with 9 different colors and is 12 meters, 40 feet long. Riryu is a far-sighted dragon, and Karyu is a small red dragon with only 2 meters, 6.5 feet long. The special dragon of good luck is Fukuryu, but to see any dragon was regarded as a lucky omen. The oldest of Japan's dragons can grow wings and become dragon birds, or Hairyo. Japanese dragons can also turn themselves into humans at will. They are generally friendly and gentle towards people, but not in every case, as the legends of Kyoto's dragons demonstrate. Okay, it looks like we're going to be reading about Kyoto's dragons now. It says, There was once a time when the city of Kyoto was troubled by a white dragon that lived in a nearby lake. Every 50 years, the dragon would transform into a magnificent yellow bird, the ogancho, and fly from the lake with a terrible howling, which sounded like the cry of a wolf. The people of Kyoto dreaded the sound, as they knew it foretold the coming of a great famine. There was apparently several sightings of an ogancho in April 1834, and sure enough, shortly afterwards, there was widespread famine in the area. Excuse me. Kyoto is also protected by a dragon. On the east side of the city lies the Kiyomizu Temple of Shiryu, the Azure Dragon. A statue to Shiryu stands at the entrance. It is said to come to life and drink from a fountain at night. That's kind of cool. Okay. We've got time for one more, it looks like. It will be Greek dragons. Okay, Greek dragons. Ancient Greek myths are full of tales of monsters, none more terrifying than the many-headed dragons that heroes like Hercules found themselves battling with. Here are 3 of the well-known tales about Greek dragons. Hercules and the dragons. Hydra, a many-headed dragon with poisonous blood, lived in the swamp of Lerna, emerging every so often in search of cattle to eat. For the second of his 12 labors, Hercules was ordered to kill this beast. First, he drove the Hydra out of its swampy home and into the open by shooting fire-tipped arrows into its lair. He smote off head after head, but as each head was chopped off, 2 new heads would grow in its place. Eventually, he defeated the beast with the help of his nephew, who seared the severed necks with fire, and the instant Hercules cut them off, so that the heads could not grow back. The final head was immortal, so Hercules crushed it into the ground and covered it with a huge boulder. Hercules also battled the dreadful Ladon in the garden of the Hesperides, the orchard of the goddess Hera, and the beautiful home of the 3 nymphs, the Hesperides. At the center of the garden stood a tree that bore golden apples. Twined around the tree, guarding the apples, was the 100-headed serpent dragon Ladon, who spoke in many different voices and never slept. For the 11th of his labors, Hercules was told to steal the golden apples from the tree in the garden. Excuse me. Hercules made his way to the garden, crept up on the dragon, and shot it so accurately that with an arrow that the creature died instantly. He stole the apples and fled. The goddess Hera put the slain dragon into the heavens as a star constellation, Draco. Now, let's read about who Hercules was. Who was Hercules? Let's see, it says, the caption says, immensely brave and strong, Hercules was arguably the greatest of the Greek heroes over the centuries. His legendary adventures have inspired countless artwork, such as this ancient statue, which stands in the Museum of Naples, Italy. Okay, now let's read about Hercules. Hercules, or Heracles, was the son of the god Zeus and Alcmene, a mortal woman. Zeus's wife, Hera, hated Hercules and tried to kill him or make difficult for him whenever she could. Despite this, Hercules grew up brave and very strong. His famous 12 labors, each seemingly impossible, were tasks set to him by King Eurystheus, under orders from Hera. The second was to slay the terrible Hydra, and the 11th to steal golden apples from under the nose of the dragon Ladon. In the end, Hercules successfully completed all 12 of his labors. After a long and adventurous life, the hero finally died after putting on a poisoned shirt. See page 83. That would be episode 7. The previous episode was where we talked about Nisus the Centaur, which was where they talked about Hercules dying. Okay. Jason and the Golden Fleece. Okay. So let's read this up here. Jason stole the Golden Fleece while Medea put the dragon to sleep with a magic charm. Yeah. Okay, so it says here, Jason the Golden Fleece. Jason was the prince of a land called Aeolus. No. Iolcus. He should rightfully have been king, but his wicked uncle had taken the throne in his place. To claim back his kingdom, Jason was sent on a quest to bring back the fabled Golden Fleece. It was kept in the far city of Colchis. The fleece was owned by King Asetes and guarded by a dragon that never slept. Jason gathered a group of heroes, including Hercules and Theseus, and set sail in a ship called the Argo. After many adventures, the Argonauts finally arrived at Colchis. King Asetes, agreed to give Jason the fleece, but only if he passed a terrifying test. First, he was to plow a field using fire-breathing bulls to pull the plow. Then he was to plant the field with dragon's teeth. These teeth would then grow into an army, which he must defeat. This task would have been impossible if it were not for help from the king's daughter, Medea, who had fallen in love with Jason. Medea was a sorceress. She protected Jason from the bull's flames and instructed him to throw a rock into the midst of the dragon's teeth army. This he did, and the soldiers began fighting each other rather than him. Despite Jason's success, Asetes still wouldn't give him the fleece. So Medea helped Jason again by bewitching the dragon so that he could steal it. Jason returned to Iolcus victorious and was crowned king at last. It says here, Hercules battles the snaky heads of the dragon Hydra. All Greek dragons were many-headed, Hercules wearing the skin of the Nemean lion, which he slew in his first of his 12 labors. And I believe that's all that we have time for. In the next one, we'll talk a little bit more about dragons and then go into four-legged fiends. I have no idea what this is going to be about. Griffins and sphinxes and stuff. Okay. Anyways, this has been a reading from Fantasmagoria. It is a book. It is an atlas of fabulous creatures, enchanted beings, and magical monsters by Julia Bruce. Anyways, if you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you want to support me in any way, all that information will be in the description below. As always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.